Welcome to Grace and Truth with Gale and Johnny Rowlett.
We base this entire podcast on John 1:14, where it says Jesus was full of grace and truth. And those two words don't necessarily always go together. So we love that there's tension between those two words and that he was the perfection of both grace and truth. Join us today as we dive deep into his word and revelation and see how he unfolds both grace and truth. Well, it's episode 19. You made it.
What was that?
You did it. You made it. You made it to 19 of these. I think it's an accomplishment, don't you think? Should we stop doing them now at 19? Like that's the perfect number. Don't get to 20. Just do 19. We're so glad that you joined us today, because today we're going to talk about something that's probably not something you want to talk about.
It's hard because it's deep, but at the same time so simple.
Yeah.
And I guess it's more harder to do. We're going to talk about surrendering all. And what does that mean to surrender all? It's something we hear about all the time.
I surrender all.
Right. We sing about it.
I surrender all. I mean, we've been singing that
for years.
Since we were kids.
Well, let's look
But how many people actually are surrendering all?
Right. So the actual definition is to give up completely or agree to forego, especially in favor of another.
Yikes. I don't like
Surrendering all.
No, thank you.
Means letting go.
Not doing it.
And especially those that are control freaks, or not even control freaks, really. That's kind of bad verbiage, but people that like to, know what's going on or have a little bit of control, and not in a bad way.
Yeah.
Not all control is a bad thing.
No.
But having that, but surrendering all.
But when you're in control all the time, that's a heavy thing to do. Okay, so let's talk about where this came from. So this last week, Gail and I were, let's just be honest about it. We live in this bus 24/7, and as you can tell, we're very different personalities, and I probably rub Gail the wrong way, just like every few months. It's weeks, probably hours,
minutes.
Yeah, minutes. oh, you got me. But we do really well, and part of our thing because we're so different.
Yeah.
But that's also that's
also a plus, though.
That's our plus. Yeah. That's why we do so well together, because we're so different. But we were upset with each other, frustrated with each other, kind of just going to our separate corners, kind of thing. And then I was also having some frustrations with some of my kids, and I was having I was feeling attacked from some other people. I was just going through it, and it was all about me and all poor me. And I don't want to be like too light on it. There are times that you just feel like the whole world is just coming down on you.
Right. But at the same time, when you feel that way, usually it's just a distraction.
Yeah.
Usually it's just the enemy trying to pull you away from what you're really supposed to be focused on. Not always. I mean, obviously we all get disrespected, and we all get, but when we surrender all, we can't focus on that.
Okay. That's true. So I came in the coach. You were down at the park, I think. You were somewhere, and I came in in the coach to get something, and I see on the couch that you had written in a big bold letters, and I want to hear the whole story. You never did tell me the story behind it, but in big letters you wrote on a piece of paper, and you weren't writing it to me.
No,
it wasn't a letter to me.
It didn't have anything to do
with you. It was to you.
Right.
But it hit me like a ton of bricks, and all it said was 3 words: I surrender all. Big black letters, exclamation point. And it wrecked me. it completely wrecked me because I'm like, all of this frivolous frustration, all of this circumstantial distraction goes away that fast when you realize that we're supposed to be surrendered. These things shouldn't be affecting me. Like, Paul says it's no longer I that live, but Christ that lives in me, and that I should reckon myself dead and alive to Christ, dead to myself and alive to Christ. Well,
and Jesus says, deny yourself.
That's right. And pick up your cross and follow me. So if you're talking that, guess if you're if you're not doing that, you're not surrendered.
Right. Exactly.
And it just hit me. So where did that
So I was listening to a message.
Yeah.
And they were talking about letting go. And how so many people say that the blessing is in this or that or the other, but sometimes the blessing is in letting go. They talk about Jacob and Esau and how Esau was like, Jacob, you're just like stressing about all of this, and I let it go.
Wow.
So there's a lot to be said about letting go.
Let it go.
And I think that that's a lot of the things is sometimes we focus so much on, always the victim and,
he said, we call it, he said, she said, bull.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly. We get so stuck on that we forget that that's just a distraction. And just like that message you always talk about the clowns and being distracted by the clowns. It's just the enemy always putting in these little
clowns.
Yeah, and just distractions. And he knows where our weakest point is. Right, exactly. And that's why he sends them.
Yes.
That's why he sends in the clowns, because he knows exactly what we'll be distracted by. Oh, he said what?
Yeah, right. Oh, that's good.
They said what?
Yeah.
And
clowns to the left, jokers to the right. Here I am stuck in the middle with you. The bikers wanted me to remember that song, but that's how. The worst part of that is when I'm the joker and I'm the clown. It's funny, everybody, when I was doing that message, when I was on that message hard, all these people would come up and they're like, thank you, because this guy's been a clown to me. This girl's been a clown, a joker. My work has been a clown. And I kept thinking, and I'd said to a couple people that I was a little bit closer to, I said, the hardest clown is the one you see in the mirror.
Right.
And I wear my feelings on my shoulder, and I get emotional, whatever. But
on your shoulder, not on your sleeve.
That's my shoulder.
Okay.
I wear it right there on the old shoulder, and I look in the mirror and I see a clown, but even that. Then I start focusing on me, and I start, wow, what a clown, and you're just a clown, and I start into this whole self-loathing and hateful speech patterns to myself, and then that's not healing either, So it's even that is surrendering. You know what, Father? I surrender my emotionalism. I surrender my self-loathing. I surrender my anger. I surrender my bitterness. I surrender my trying to be right all the time. There's a lot of that surrender all has just, I've started to watch it as that revelation hit me. I started seeing it kind of fingerling into many areas of my life.
Yes.
Like, ooh, I need to surrender that right there.
Yes. Because we get caught up in we're major on the minor things, and we shouldn't be doing that. How can we promote the good when we're stuck in the mundane of he said, she said, all the things that are supposed to be surrendered?
Focusing on the clowns.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I guess the application then was, I don't ever like to do anything that's just hyperbole.
Right. How do we apply this?
How do we apply this?
But I think it's a moment to moment basis. Is every day we have to wake up and say, okay, Lord, I surrender. Or when we come up against something and say, all right, God, I don't know how to deal with this. I'm surrendering it to you.
Ooh.
But we can't use it as a cop out either.
Yeah.
We can't use that because there are things that come up that we need to make decisions on. Right now, God has given us that authority. We have all dominion. So
with that decision, surrender to him comes back in wisdom on how to answer
right,
that question.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. But
that's so good.
So in saying that, then
Yeah.
we can't just say, well, I don't have to. I'm going to negate that because you know what I mean? I surrender all. No, you're right. He gave us the wisdom and the authority and the dominion to be able to answer that or to deal with that or whatever.
I had a friend call me recently that's going through a lot right now, and he was just broken on the phone, and it was breaking my heart. And the thing that I kept thinking is, you know, it's kind of like what we talked about before. You can't take the time to point out the no swimming sign to a man that's drowning.
Right.
So it wasn't the right time. But what I was thinking is, I surrender all.
Right.
I surrender this porn addiction. I surrender this alcohol addiction. I surrender this broken heart. I surrender the anger that I'm feeling over this. I surrender the drug addiction. Whatever. In every way facet, it's not. Jesus is my burden is light. It's not our burden to carry.
Right, because it could be a legitimate hurt.
Yeah.
Your heart could be broken for a legitimate reason, but we don't have to stay there. So if we surrender and say, all right, God, I'm surrendering this, I'm giving this to you to deal with or help me, show me the way,
I surrender.
Do what only you can do.
So just speak to somebody today that's just going through it and just feels like they're overwhelmed. Maybe they feel like they're drowning, drowning in debt, drowning in fear, stress, worry, strife, anxiety. What would you say if somebody was sitting in here right now? What would you say to them just to say, that I surrender all applies to them?
Well, I think it's pretty much straightforward. Exactly what we're saying is, give it to God, surrender it to Him. Just like what you were saying is, it's not no longer I that live, but Christ that lives in me and lives through me, and that I die to myself on a daily basis.
Oh, that's good.
And that when we say surrender, so if it is a financial crisis, say, you know what, God, I'm surrendering this to you and help me to make the right decisions. Because we still live in this world.
Yeah.
And so ultimately you still have to make these decisions.
That's good.
But if by surrendering it to Him and giving it all over to Him, then He can give us the wisdom, the knowledge, and the understanding to make the correct decisions. But by us trying to manage and control and manipulate, then it's never going to happen correctly. That's so good. But it also gives us that peace of He's in control.
He's in control. That's right.
It's not I that live, but Christ that lives in me. He's the one that's making the decisions, and the Holy Spirit is leading me.
Yeah. And if you need just a picture, I just think about Jesus in the boat during the storm. I probably go over this anecdote way too much, but it's just something has resonated truth in my life. Is Jesus in the boat during the storm, and He gets up and the disciples are freaking out and trying to do all things in their power to outrun the storm, and they finally they wake up Jesus, and their wake up call to Jesus sounds a lot like our prayer life. Are you just going to lay there and let us die? And there's so many times that's our prayer. Do you not see me? Do you not hear me? Can you not tell that you said you'll never put on too much. It's too much. It's too much. There's all this thing. And in essence, Jesus gets up and He rebukes the storm, but then He rebukes the disciples. And we were always taught that He's rebuking the disciples because they have the authority to speak to the storm. And there's a little bit of debate on that. They didn't have the Holy Spirit right then to know that they had the authority. But I think really what He's doing is rebuking them because He said before he ever got in the boat, let's go the other side. And guess where the other side is not? At the bottom of the lake. So in essence, His point is He knew the storm was coming, and He got in the boat and got in a position of rest. He laid down and went to sleep, knowing that His Father is in control and no storm in hell is going to keep them from getting to the other side. And I think the position that is the place I want to be, I'm not saying I am there, but the surrendering all is the deciding, you know what, Father, this is what you spoke. This is what is true. And I make a decision that I'm going to crawl up next to you in the bow of the boat in a position of rest and trust your authority over my circumstance and my situations. So I speak that over you today, that as you're just going through the storms of life, that you find rest and that you surrender all. Have a great day. We love y'all.
Bye.
Bye-bye.